Well, I'm super excited to be here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project that I've been working on. This project is called FirehoseOnline. But before I dive into exactly what we're doing, I'm going to give you a little introduction to myself and sort of tell you my story. So, my name's Ken Mazaika. I'm a web developer. I've worked for a bunch of different startups. I'm passionate about building software. So, I've contributed to Ruby on Rails, and I just really like building stuff. And I ended up meeting a friend of mine, Marco, and he sort of has the same passion. And he's worked for a bunch of different startups as well, and he just has a passion for building awesome software. So one of the problems that we had a lot were people were coming up to us and asking us, hey, can you help me out? Can you help me find this technical co-founder for me? Or some people came up to us and said, hey, can you do me a solid and just build my MVP for me? Some people actually just wanted to be able to talk to technical people a little bit better because maybe they're looking to sort of hire somebody, or maybe they're sort of looking to find a technical co-founder, or going on an interview, a non-technical interview for a non-technical job with a technical component. So people basically wanted to learn how to do a lot of this stuff, and the secret is it's actually not that hard. So we're sort of super passionate about this stuff, and we realize that if you take a hands-on approach and you sort of start doing things by hand, you can learn an insane amount of stuff in a small amount of time. So me and Marco did something a little bit crazy, and we said, in the course of a single weekend, we'll teach you everything you need to know to build an awesome web application. So we did that, and before we knew it, we filled up our first workshop. So we were super excited, and before we knew it, we were going all over the place. So we've been to Times Square, we went to Pittsburgh, we went to Harvard Business School, we went to a startup accelerator. Marco would be here now, but he's actually filling up the event in Hawaii. So we've been sort of all over the place, and we're having so much fun. And because I'm so passionate about building stuff, and Marco is too, and we love teaching people, we're having a blast, and our students are loving us too. So you can see that because everybody is saying awesome things, they're telling our friends, and we feel really good about it. But at the same time, we feel kind of sad about it too, because there's only so far that sort of this like a boot camp style approach can go. Right? There's two of us, there's 4 weekends a month, you guys can do the math, and there's only so many people that we can teach in a small time frame. So it made us a little bit sad. So what we came up with was the FirehoseOnline approach. And the FirehoseOnline approach takes the experiences that we have teaching hundreds of people how to build an awesome web application in a single weekend. And these are people who, coming in, didn't even know HTML. And they leave sort of talking all developer-y, talking about databases and stuff like that. So we took all the experiences that we had, we put it in an online learning platform, and we're having a blast with it. So what it is it's the videos of us, and we're sort of laughing and joking and having a good time. It's not like us being monotone. And it's the same technologies that we're sort of using in these boot camps. And the reason that we're using these is because people love them. These are the technologies that you need to build an awesome web application fast. And there's stuff that sort of will keep you on track and you can go back to and reference, and there's stuff like that. So because you guys love demos so much, I'm going to show you a demo if I can, if this thing will pop up. And this is an example of one of the web applications that we build in the course of the weekend. So I don't know if you can see it, but there should be like a page here that looks like this, and you can go into the application, and you can see sort of all this user-generated data. There's images that got uploaded. Everybody in the course of the weekend who will build a web application looks something along the lines of this. Most of the students' web applications look better, of course, because they're spending time building the awesome web application while we're helping them debug it. But over the course of the weekend, sort of everybody builds one of those applications. So if you keep going, that particular application is really designed specifically so we can teach the most possible, right? So we're using all the technologies that we can and showcasing them in the best way possible. So we're using stuff like Git, GitHub, Heroku, Ruby on Rails, Twitter Bootstrap, Postgres. We're using all these things, image uploading, cloud storage, crazy amount of technologies. And the crazy thing is you can actually learn tons of stuff super fast if you take the right approach. So we took that approach that we're teaching in sort of these individual sort of like workshops, and now you can sort of sign up online and you can sort of learn how to be a web developer. And our online course is a lot like our workshops, where you can do it in a single weekend. So show up, get the course, go through the course, and you'll be a web developer in the course of a weekend. So we're super excited about this, and thanks so much for having us. Do you guys have any questions?
Question about Ruby on Rails.
Yeah, of course.
Looking at the syntax, it's quite weird with hashes at the end. How long did it take you, like what's your background, how long did it take you to learn just Ruby and then Rails?
Gotcha. So the question, if you didn't hear, is how long does it take? How long did it take me to
Did it
learn?
take you personally? Because I know patient off PHP, it's a little bit weirder syntax though.
Yeah, so it's a lot more loosey-goosey, I think, is sort of what you're talking about. And yeah, so getting sort of, the question is about learning the syntax of Ruby in particular, and then learning the Rails framework. So I kind of, I did sort of the same approach that I do to sort of like these workshops, and I sort of jumped in the deep end, right? So instead of learning Ruby, because the traditional path is you get a book on Ruby, and you learn the syntax, and then you learn the Rails framework. So it's like one and the other. But I kind of skipped the first step. I got the Rails book, and I just jumped in. And so I wasn't like an expert for a while, but I ended up learning enough to be sort of get myself in trouble in the course of, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks. And I did it by building sort of web applications. And I, for the longest time, I didn't know even the basic stuff, right? Like a do and an end, like what do those actually mean? I had no idea. But I knew enough to do like, okay, if I want to add 2 numbers or pull something from a database, like it took me like a couple of weeks to learn that much by myself. Yeah.
Just a question on your business model.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, you created these lessons, etc. And your business now is to promote the lessons online. That's basically it.
Yeah, so they're sort of the complementary sort of business models, right? So we have these weekend workshops that we're sort of running, and then sort of the other part is the online stuff. And they work really well together, so a lot of the people that attend our workshops end up purchasing the online thing. So I think a little over a third of the people who attended our last one ended up purchasing the online version. So that's sort of that, but we're also promoting and trying to distribute this stuff as fast as possible. Yeah?
What kind of background do people have that normally take your course? Do they know programming at all?
So,
or do they come in and completely learn programming from the beginning and then all the technologies as well?
Awesome. So that's an awesome question. So the question is about what type of people come to our workshops and what their background is. And I would say that there's about 3 types of people that come to our workshop. The first type is the people who just have a startup idea and they just can't find somebody to build it. So they have 0 technical skills, right? They have no experience with the HTML or any of that stuff. So some of these people come to our workshops. Some people are like developers who have developed in like old technologies and they want to get more up to speed with the latest stuff. So they're really technical people, but they just want those like sexy skills. And then there's some people that sort of just are like project managers or something like that. So they've managed technical people before, they have sort of that experience, but they don't have the first-hand experience of building something. So it sort of ranges the spectrum from 0 experience to just not having the specific stuff in hand.
And you're able to teach them all effectively with one course load, even despite the range skills. Because I'm asking because I've taught some Ruby on Rails workshops before, and I had that problem where some people came in with absolutely no programming experience whatsoever. Some people came in that were a lot more advanced, people wanting to learn the more nitty-gritty details of it, and it was just incredibly difficult to accommodate everybody. I was wondering how you approach that.
Yeah, so the approach that we take is like a lot different from everybody else. So the question is, how do we deal with the diversity of the range? And the answer to that is really through, we have 0 slides. We don't talk about here's what a string is, here's what an integer is. We don't talk about any of that stuff. We just start building and we just do all live coding. And because we're live coding the entire time, the people that are super advanced sort of have no problem keeping up. And then there's some people that sort of fall behind and they'll put their hand up and we'll come around and we'll help them out. But like everybody has no problem building it. And after you type the same thing a few times, like while you might not understand some abstract concept of something, after you type the same thing into your terminal a bunch of times, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I get what this is. I get why this is happening and I understand sort of all the components. So that's sort of the approach that we take, and it's worked out well for us. Yeah.
If you're doing live coding as you're teaching that, what are your online
So our online, so the question is if we do a lot of live coding, how does our online thing compare? So we sort of, on the one hand, we're doing all this live coding, and we have sort of this whole thing, and we didn't really have a schedule the first time we did it, but we sort of have done it enough times where we're live coding the same application again and again and again, and we're telling jokes the whole time, and we're telling the same jokes again and again and again, right? So we get to sort of practice on the audience. So the online one is just sort of like the exact same stuff. So we're live coding, it's sort of a screencast of us sort of telling bad jokes, talking about Justin Bieber, all that stuff. Yeah.
So I've taken a lot of Coursera and edX courses, and one thing that always picked me up is they massively undersell, even if you're an experienced technologist, what the time commitment is. So if I did the FirehoseOnline, what's the time commitment?
Gotcha. So the question is about the time commitment for the FirehoseOnline thing. So the weekend course obviously is the course of a weekend, so it's around the 36 hours. But the online thing, the actual content is about 7 hours of video. So that's, while it sounds like, okay, yeah, it's 7 hours, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to pause this thing a few times. It's designed to be done in a single weekend, and we're sort of, you should be able to keep up and sort of type along with us, because it's just, we're live coding and you're live coding, and you just sort of follow along and listen to us as we say it. So you should be able to do it in a single weekend, but you have access for a lifetime. So it could take maybe 2 weekends or something like that. But it's a small amount in comparison to sort of how big it could be. Any other questions? Yeah.
So if you're doing this online, I can understand if you're live and people are working on something. First of all, when you have the online thing, is everyone in the class working on the same ultimate goal of the project, as opposed to 19 or 20 different projects with most files? And if on the online version, how are you keeping track whether people are doing the right work while working? What kind of feedback is it? Live with you, or they just use a filter?
So great question. So I think there were sort of 2 questions associated with that. One was, does everybody work on the same project, or are there different ones? Yeah, so on both of them, it's sort of the same way. So we live code, or like it's us typing and sort of like coding the same web application. So it's the application that I showed you before with the image uploading and the smiling faces and the emotion and all that stuff. And we have like this big story about what the application does and sort of this whole gimmick about it. So that's sort of the first answer. Like we keep everybody on track by not having everybody do something entirely different, because that would be so hard to manage. And it also wouldn't leverage the fact that sort of like the more times we run this, the better they can actually be. And then you had a second question. I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How are you keeping track of people online? How well cooperative they are? To see what they're following along.
Gotcha. So the question is about how we keep up with the students online and see how they're following along. So we don't have a awesome solution now. So we don't have tons of customers. So Marco's emailing everybody out and sort of asking, is there any way I can help you out? And we're sort of on the small scale. We're like following up and making sure to have a personal relationship with everybody that has access to the platform. Any other questions? Or?
That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I definitely appreciate it.
Join Boston New Technology Meetup. Sponsor an event or venue. Present your idea and attend to network with Boston's brightest. Details are at www.bostonnewtech.org and in the video description.